project manager at Bosco Vocational Training Institute in Rourkela, Odisha. He's the in charge of welding skill development, training, and recruitment. He specializes in welding safety and developing potential skills for welding processes and safe welding operations. His keen interest in welding enabled him to broaden his skills and provide a variety of welding training activities. Today, Mr. Antree will talk about skill training challenges and successful models. Delegates, let's welcome Mr. Antree K.
Very good evening to all of you. Thanks for extending the invitation to me to present this topic, skill training challenges and successful models. Let me tell you, I come from organization called Bosco Tech India. We operate a lot of technical institutes pan country. We have more than 200 technical training institutes all over the country, imparting different kind of technical training, among which welding is one of the popular trades. So I was heading the southern region a few years ago. So I'm very happy to tell you that we have trained since the inception of this particular special sector of organization. For example, though we have other institutes of colleges, schools, universities, the technical skill sector, we have combined all our organizations together and formed Don Bosco Tech India since 2006. We have trained more than 4 lakh of youth in India. And now we are heading high with the numbers. So one thing that I noticed especially regarding the welding training, the technical skill training happens on one side, skill sets remain on one side, and the training goes altogether in a different manner on the other side. And this becomes a great challenge. And we often complain that industry academia gap that exists because of the poor training. So this even today we are regularly experiencing. Whenever we train a youngster and place him on the job, we experience this because they are not really matching to the needs of that particular industry. So that is the greatest challenge I have always encountered. And my previous speaker was mentioning about the per capita consumption of steel. So whenever there is steel consumption, there is welding and cutting. So the relevance of this particular trade. And whenever you do not meet the demands of the concerned industry, here we are discussing about construction equipment industry, but whenever you consider other oil and gas sector, ship manufacturing, or general construction industry, or machine manufacturing, or pressure vessel manufacturing industry, whenever you go to all these sectors, what happens is that the fresh trained candidate or even a candidate who has an experience of maybe 3 to 5 years are not really suiting to the real tight demands of that particular sector. And this becomes the greatest challenge. So I would like all those who are into this sector, especially those who are doing the skill training, to understand the real Indian scenario. Because that itself will address a lot of challenges. One of the simple example that I could share is that, see, the one of the Indian standard qualifications for a welder is NCVT trade certificate. And you see, if you go for, the admission criteria is only 8 standard pass or 8 standard, 10 standard fail. And this candidate is going to come for doing the welding and or becoming himself into a welder. And now these days we are going to use a lot of new materials, not only carbon steel, stainless steel, other categories of stainless steel like duplex steels, as my previous speaker was mentioning, and other special alloy material and so on. And these people, I don't know, with this 8 standard knowledge, their theoretical background will be very poor. They will understand very poorly the science behind the welding. And these people with their manual skill alone, they manage to become welders, and they are the real movers of all these industries. And actually that becomes a very great challenge. Towards that, the government or other companies are not doing much initiatives, because I think economics also is playing behind that. So very lower qualified person may need to be paid only little. All these things are there. So this is a very, very challenging situation behind the scene. When you get to train a youngster to become a welder, he's only just a 10 standard fail, or who does not get any other job, he comes home. So this is a very, very down-to-earth reality that is happening. Then the realization of the skill dearth that is around us. All the companies now will be speaking, when we speak about we need my speaker was telling, we require 22 lakhs welders or engineers or crane fault. Any industry, when they speak about this way, or when they present that there is a lot of demand for welders and so on, what happens is that actual training institutes, there are a lot of industrial welding training institutes available. They produce these people and they hardly get recruited, because whatever way you train them and you try to place them, very few industries are willing to absorb it. 101 reasons. However you train a person, you cannot make that person into a perfect welder. He needs at least 6 months to 1 year of on-the-job training in order to become a real welder. So that way they don't get absorbed into industry, and it becomes a great challenge for the training institute as well as the person who chooses this career to pursue. Then converting the challenges into opportunities, that also we need to. So each time when we interact with industries, all the people who are in this particular field, they suggest to us a lot of lacuna or a lot of gap between the training and the real need. So if you are able to address one by one in your own institutes and in your training modules, a lot of challenges can be overcome. And when your training becomes really effective or addressing to the industry needs, you actually really creating a lot of employability to these welders. Not only that, you will realize another interesting fact that they not only require only simply that welding skill, multi skills are also required. For example, now you choose the topic welding and cutting. It's not only cutting. So at the moment you come, you need cutting, measurements, then different forms of cutting. You need grinding. You need to set the whole work. Then you need a helper and the preparation of the whole job. Then only you come to welding. So which means you really need multi-skill abilities in order to pursue this particular career. And this becomes a challenge, because sometimes you get only a welder who is able to do good welding, but the rest of the thing, he will be struggling. And the other person who cuts the work and all those things, he may not be good at welding, or his welding may not pass the international standards. So this becomes another great challenge. So what we need to do is that we really need to get into the industry and have a personal experience and understand each situation and find out new strategies for skilling India. So which we need really good partnership happening between public, private, and training institutes. Otherwise, we will never address these specific needs. What I understand is that however you train a person and put them on the job, the particular industry will keep telling you, oh, they are not suiting to our standards, they are not matching, and we need to retrain them. We spend money and we spend time and all those. So this complaint this is a great challenge. So really, the training institutes or those who train, they should really understand that this multitasking and these challenges do continuously keep existing and increasing and improving in the industry situations. And whoever is capable of going and learning and understanding and implementing these steps into the real training or the welder training only can address these difficulties on the industry situations. So what happens is that we need to really meet the interest of all the stakeholders. So I would like to present two simple examples. I was doing the CSR project with Cochin Shipyard Limited, and together with the Indian Institute of Welding, and the training happening in our Bosco Technical Institute. We trained, at present now we are completed training more than 210, to be exact, welders. So what happens to that is that we really involve them in the activities that are happening in a shipyard, or activities that are happening in a marine sector, in the oil sector, in our practical, and they get plenty of time to do the practical. We give almost 600 to 700 hands-on training only on doing practical. And what happens is that sometimes in technical training, the training institute need to incur a lot of expenses. As my previous speaker was mentioning, a lot of steel is needed, electrode, consumption of electricity, the power, and the machines required, new technology machines, all these things, which means investment, which means really money need to be pumped in. But the candidates who come for this particular kind of training, they are from very poor background and they are not capable of spending so much money. And how do you match? For that, you need an industry to really support you. So here what happened was that Cochin Shipyard was coming forward to really support. They were really meeting without any negotiation the expenses that we were incurring for this particular program. And the welders were fantastic. At the end of this 6 to 7 months training program, their quality, they met all the X-ray quality radiographic test passing, and they met all the requirements of the industry. And I can say none of them are jobless. Most of them are being recruited by these different oil sectors, gas sectors, or maybe going to the Gulf countries, or they are pursuing to go to European countries. So this happens because their training is really pinpointed into, and we are being assisted by Indian Institute of Welding, who are a kind of a monitoring partner, whom a knowledge sharing partner, because they are one of the leading franchisees in the country who really study the welding technical part of it and giving the advice and following it up. So, and we put into the skills of training. So when all these combine, really, this model becomes very effective. Just recently, after my coming to Rourkela in Odisha, I was doing a similar program with another private. They are into maintenance of ship and oil industry. So what happens is that I visited their industry, discussed personally with them what are your requirements. How do you look at a welder? What are the quality you would like to have in a welder? We had a long discussions, long sessions. Then we chalked out our syllabus program separately. Then we recruited welders, maybe those who had just finished the ITI welding training. Then we did an intensive training program, 100 days of intensive training program, just onto the particular services that this industry was giving to the world market. How the cutting or how the CNC cutting machine operation, how different position welding doing, different electrodes that were being used, different material that were being used in the industry. Then these 100 days of very intensive training and 8 hours of training. We gave a residential training, morning 8 o'clock to evening 6 o'clock, giving a full-fledged real industrial exposure during the training time. And now they are in the company working. So what happens is that within 2 weeks after they join the company, they are put directly into the job. And the manager, one Mr. Subhash, he was telling me, Father, whomever you are trained, excellently matching to the requirements of our industry. So unless we look into this type of training pattern, we will never satisfy the industry and we will never get the right persons for this particular field. That is one of the reasons why we are not having people coming forward to this particular sector. So this is another great challenge. So here a small diagram indicates that you get new candidates, either one guy who is failed in training, failed in acquiring this particular skill, and you give them real skill training, that S will tell you that. Then you internet with all activity, all things. So you are a machine, the company visit, company exposure, and all those things. Then you get an on-the-job training. Then your employability skill will improve. You are rightly suited for the industry. This is a small center that I am trying to convert into a center of excellence through our industrial training and welding training program. We do some certifications and welding consultancy activities and trying to produce good welders, those who will really address the industrial situations as well as will be liked by the industries. We would like to have this type of trained persons. So like that persons we are trying to train in our institute. So what I want to tell you is that think differently about our work culture and employability, because there is a lot of work culture putting down this. Some people, in my personal experience visiting different parts of the country and welding industry, they don't give that value to the welder. They don't give sufficient payment to that welder. They treat that person as he's a low class type. So what happens is that they don't take up this as a good career, and the steel consumption naturally will reduce. You saw the previous speaker presenting. India's it was only just 50 to 53. Now only just 75. Even it is below 100 compared to all international European countries who they have above 300 and 400, 700, even 1000. Some of the countries are reaching. So which means people are not following this career because poor work culture and poor payment and less employability that is given to them. And you have to recognize them and value their skills and reward them professionally. Unfortunately, I have always, even international forums I have presented and spoken saying that we pay well only the supervisor category and the engineers and the designers. We forget to treat the welders. So if you really address this issue, there will be a lot of people pursue this particular thing. Then insist international qualification. Most of the industries, very sorry to say, most of the industries, they are, when you speak about to them regarding safety standards, certifying the welder, qualification, all these things, they go back. They want only the person who just does little job, and they keep a minimum certified people and in order to do their import-export activity. And they really spoil that particular quality of that work. This is another major challenge that is happening in all this industry wherever they are handling this welding process. Because welding is a special process, it requires really meeting the international standard. And whenever you are doing the training, original skill training is required, because sometimes what happens is that this augmented realities with the simulators, they do substitute, but it is not really sufficient. You really need to burn the material and do it, and that will give you the best class welders. So we have to rely 80% on the real job training, only hardly 20% for theoretical understanding, and all other things we can use the augmented realities and the simulated. So this will improve the skill training. Not only what happens when these type of skilled people are there with their experience, they become really entrepreneurs. They're real good entrepreneurs, so that this industry will carry on. So now we are slowly facing, because of the modern IT or artificial intelligence involved welding, it can only be done in the factory conditions. Who will do the maintenance? Who will do the site work? You really need the persons who are really skillful and really going to the site and doing the work. So this is a great challenge. So unless we address these things together with the training institutes who are really imparting and meeting all the standards, we will not get good welder. And this will make the construction industry, marine industry, ship industry, or oil gas industry, wherever there is welding is supplied, suffer the loss of money, time, and quality. And this is what I would like to present before you regarding skill training. So there is a tough situation that is existing in India. Though India government is trying to do a lot of skill training program through that project, this project, and so on, it is not reaching, because this understanding of the challenges have not really taken. Thank you.